You open your mouth to speak English. One word, maybe two, and then nothing. Just static. Brain, offline. Mouth, frozen. Confidence, gone. Welcome to Monday English Podcast, where we roast your excuses, hug your panic, and remind you that forgetting words doesn't mean you're broken. It just means you're human, and probably a little tired. Let's get real. You've been there. Someone says, "Tell me about yourself," and your brain decides to take a coffee break. You know the words. You've practiced the sentences. But in that moment, poof. All gone. You stand there blinking like a confused goldfish, wondering if your English got deleted from your brain overnight. And then you go home and say, why does this always happen to me? Spoiler, it doesn't just happen to you. It happens to everyone, even native speakers. They just recover faster and don't cry about it later. So today, we're not fixing your grammar. We're fixing your meltdown. First, we'll talk about why your brain freezes and how that's actually normal. Then, we'll teach you what to say when your brain blacks out, those little time-buying phrases that save your life. And finally, we'll build your go-to brain CPR sentences so you never stand there like a deer in English headlights again. This episode is not about being perfect. It's about not panicking. It's about having something, anything to say when your brain says, nope. Because silence isn't powerful. It's just awkward. So take a deep breath, roll your eyes at your nervous brain, and get ready. Segment 1 is waiting, and your blank mind doesn't stand a chance. You're sitting in class. It's your turn to answer a question. Easy question. You know the answer. You really do. But the teacher looks at you and suddenly your brain decides to run away. It leaves the room without saying goodbye. You forget every English word you've ever learned. Your mouth stays shut. You smile like nothing is wrong, but inside you're screaming. And of course, later that night in the shower, you remember the perfect answer. Too late, as usual. Sound familiar? Good. You're not the only one. That frozen feeling, it's normal. Annoying? Yes. But normal. Your brain didn't die. It just hit pause. That moment, when your mind goes blank, isn't because you're bad at English. It's because your body thinks you're in danger. No, seriously. Your brain feels stress, and it reacts the same way it would if a lion jumped out of a bush. It shuts down language and focuses on escape. The fancy name is fight or flight. But in your case, it's freeze and forget. English feels like danger because it feels like performance. Someone is watching. You want to sound smart. You want to be correct. And when your brain feels that pressure, it panics. It says, too risky. Let's just do nothing. That's not your fault. It's your brain's old system trying to protect you from shame. Cute, right? But very unhelpful in a job interview or on a date. The worst part? After we freeze, we blame ourselves. I'm so stupid. Why can't I speak? Other people don't do this. But they do. Native speakers forget words all the time. They say, like. They pause. They restart sentences. They mess up grammar. They just don't panic about it. You see, the problem isn't the mistake. The problem is the panic. Let me give you a simple truth. Your thoughts are fast. Too fast. They rush ahead and your words can't keep up. Sometimes they crash, like cars on a highway. Boom. Blank brain. And that's okay. A blackout doesn't mean failure. It means your brain is working hard. It's building connections. But it needs a second to catch up. You wouldn't yell at your phone when it freezes. You wait. You restart. So do the same for your brain. Be patient. Be kind. And stop acting like one mistake means your whole English journey is trash. And don't say, but I knew that word yesterday. So what? Yesterday you also remembered your keys. Today you forgot them and used a spoon to open the door. Welcome to being human. Memory is weird. Language is messy. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be brave. brave enough to sound dumb for 1 minute and still come back the next day. So how do you fix the freeze? First, you accept it. You say, okay, that happened. Then you learn what to do when it happens again. Because yes, it will happen again and again and again. But each time you'll recover faster. You'll trust yourself more. And one day the freeze will come and you won't care. You'll smile, pause, breathe, and keep going. Today's tiny action, go watch a native speaker stutter in an interview. Yes, really, go search for it. See how they mess up and keep talking. That's your homework. It's free therapy for your perfectionism. And when you're done, come back here. Because next, we'll talk about what to say when your brain blacks out. How to buy time. How to survive. How to sound calm when inside you're screaming. Ready? Let's go. You're standing at the counter in a small sandwich shop. The worker asks you something. You catch the word cheese, but that's it. Your brain suddenly feels like a blank page. You blink. You nod. You panic. And in your best English voice, you say, nothing. Or worse, yes. Even though you have no idea what you just agreed to. Maybe you just said yes to 10 slices of jalapenos. Maybe they asked if you want to marry the sandwich. Who knows? This moment is where most learners crash. But here's the good news. You don't need perfect English to survive these moments. You just need time. 1 second. 2 seconds. That's it. But instead of buying time, you freeze. Your mouth stays closed. Your brain gets louder. And suddenly, you're no longer ordering lunch. You're starring in a silent horror movie called I Forgot English. So here's your new secret weapon. Buffer phrases. A buffer is something that protects or slows things down. In language, buffer phrases give your brain a second to catch up. They are short and simple, like, let me think, or 1 moment. These phrases don't need grammar. They just need confidence. Even fake confidence works. When someone asks you a question and you don't know what to say, just pause and say, let me think. That's it. Not silence. Not fear. Just 1 small line to stop the panic. Another useful trick, ask for help. Most learners are too proud to do this. But if your brain forgets a word, say, what's the word for? And explain with your hands. Example, what's the word for this? And point. Trust me, no one will arrest you. You are not on a quiz show. It's real life. And people actually like helping. If you want to feel even braver, repeat part of the question. Let's say someone asks, do you want this to go? And your brain starts freaking out. You can repeat, to go, yes, please. That little move gives you time at trying, and it also shows that you didn't run away mentally. You stayed in the conversation. Also, use your body. Body language is not cheating. It's communication. Point, shrug, smile. These are all tools. You are not a grammar robot. You're a human. Use what you have. Some of the best communicators in the world don't use full sentences. They just use energy, expression, and the right tone. You can too. Now let's be clear. Silence is not power. Silence is not mysterious. Silence just makes everyone feel awkward. It doesn't make you look deep. It makes you look lost. So next time your brain goes quiet, don't pretend you're thinking about world peace. Say something. Anything. Even if it's, 1 second. That buys time. And time is gold. Here's where I call out the classic excuse. But I don't want to sound stupid. Oh, okay. So your big plan is to sound like nothing instead? Because silence is so intelligent, right? Let me be honest. No one thinks you're stupid because you pause. They think you're brave because you try. Sounding not perfect is better than sounding invisible. Still don't believe me? Think about how many times native speakers say, wait. Do they stop speaking because of that? No, they just keep going. So why are you trying to be more fluent than a native speaker? Let's try this. Repeat these 3 buffer phrases right now. Let me think. 1 second. How do you say? Say them like you mean it. Say them like they are part of your body. Because they need to be. You don't want to stand there frozen, searching your brain for fancy grammar while time slips away. And no, you don't need a long explanation. You don't need a full sentence. Just a phrase. Just a breath. Just space to think. That's what buffer phrases give you. A pause. And sometimes that pause is the only thing standing between you and a total language meltdown. Your tiny action task today is simple. Say your favorite 3 buffer phrases out loud 5 times. Make them yours. Make them your new nervous tick. Because when your brain goes blank, you don't need panic. You need padding. And when you've got that down, meet me in the next segment. We're going to build something stronger. Rescue sentences that actually work when your brain crashes for real. Let's go. You're in a meeting. Someone asks, "What do you think?" And boom, your soul leaves your body. You nod. You say yes, even though you have no idea what you're agreeing to. 1 second later, you regret everything. You try to fix it, but your brain is on vacation. Great. Now you look confused, unprepared, and possibly guilty of something. Let's fix that. Right now. You don't need a fancy answer. You need a default sentence. A default is something you use when you don't have a better option. Like frozen pizza. Like I'm fine, thanks, when your life is on fire. In English, default sentences are your brain's emergency buttons. When you blank out, you press one of them. You survive. You move on. Here's a sentence you can steal today. Can you explain that again? Simple. It means you didn't understand and you want help. It also shows you're not scared to ask. That's strong. Another one? I'm not sure, but maybe. This is a great way to join a conversation when your brain is still waking up. It lets you say something without needing to be correct. One more? It depends. Oh yes. This is a lifesaver. It gives you time to think. It fits almost any question, and people use it all the time, even when they don't know what they're talking about. Here's the magic. Your brain loves patterns. A pattern is something that repeats, like how are you? I'm fine. Your brain remembers these more easily than random words. So when your brain blanks, it's not asking for vocabulary. It's asking for a pattern. A sentence it knows, a rhythm it can grab. Give your brain what it wants. Short, useful, repeatable. Let's make something clear. These default sentences are not fancy. They are not Shakespeare. They are not going to win you awards, but they are real and they work. You can say them when your head feels empty, your palms feel sweaty, and your brain is screaming for help. They are your CPR, your way to bring your English back to life when it dies mid-conversation. I know what you're thinking, but I need better vocabulary. Oh, please. No, you don't. You need better defaults. If your English crashes every time someone says, "What do you think?" the problem isn't your vocabulary. It's your reaction. You need a backup line. Something you can say when your thoughts vanish like socks in the laundry. Another trick? Use your own words. Stop trying to speak like a textbook. Use the words you already know. Speak the way you think, not the way a test wants you to speak. When someone asks your opinion, say, "I think it's okay," or "It's not easy to say." That's enough. That's English. That's real. You don't need to sound like a news anchor. You just need to sound like a person who's alive and trying. Let's try this together. Say it out loud. I'm not sure, but maybe. Say it again. Louder. Now say, "Can you explain that again?" Yes, even if no one's there. Do it. Now say, "It depends." There you go. You now have 3 tools to rescue yourself from future awkward moments. Your brain will thank you. Probably in English. Still feel like you're faking it? Good. Faking it is part of fluency. It's not about having the right answer. It's about having an answer. 1 sentence, 1 breath, 1 second of survival. That's where fluency starts. And the more you use these sentences, the more natural they feel. like muscle memory. That's when you stop freezing and start flowing. Here's your tiny action task. Record yourself saying 3 rescue sentences, then listen to them 5 times today. Say them while brushing your teeth. Say them in the elevator. Say them to your dog. You're not being weird. You're being ready. And now that you've built your rescue kit, it's time for the truth check. Let's have a little real talk moment, the kind you usually avoid. See you in the next segment. Oh, so you froze in English again? Poor you. What a tragedy. You opened your mouth and nothing came out. How shocking. It's not like we've talked about this for the last 20 minutes. But sure, let's pretend this means something deep about your intelligence. Maybe you're just not good at languages. Maybe you should stop trying, right? No, absolutely not. Let me tell you the truth. And it's not cute. That moment your brain goes blank, when you feel small and stupid, it doesn't mean you failed. It means you were actually trying. You were pushing your limits. You were in the real world using real English with real people. That's called effort. That's called progress. And yes, sometimes it's ugly. You're not bad at English. You're just not used to struggling in public. And that's what makes this hard. The moment you freeze, your brain starts yelling, "You're not good enough. People are judging. You should be quiet." But that voice is lying. That voice is scared. That voice is the same voice as "let's study more first." Or, "I'll talk when I'm ready." It wants you to wait forever. It wants you safe but silent. Here's the real problem. You care too much about sounding perfect. And guess what? Nobody else does. Most people are just trying to order their sandwich and get on with their day. They don't care if your grammar is wrong. They care if you look like you're in pain. And when you freeze, replay it 100 times and punish yourself. Who does that help? No one. Not even you. You think never blanking out is the goal? Please. If messing up means you're not ready, then toddlers should all retire. But they don't. They fall. They mumble. They point and scream. And we cheer. We call it learning. You deserve that same grace. Even if your sentence starts bad and ends worse. So next time your brain turns off, say this. My brain blanked today. And I lived. I'll speak again tomorrow. Say it like a fact. Like brushing your teeth. Nothing dramatic. Nothing shameful. Just a moment. It passed. You're still here. And now, let's stop crying over the pause and start talking through it. Because your English isn't broken. It's just waiting for one more sentence. Let's build that sentence. Right now. So your brain goes blank. Big deal. You're not a machine. You're not a dictionary with legs. You're a person, and sometimes your brain takes a break, usually at the worst moment. Like when someone says, "Tell me about yourself," and your soul exits the building. That's not failure. That's Tuesday. Let's go over what we learned. Because yes, you actually learned something. First, freezing is normal. Your brain thinks English is a life or death situation, but it's not. No one dies if you forget the word spoon. You don't need to be calm all the time. You just need to come back after the panic. That's what makes you strong. Second, we gave you tools to survive the awkward silence. Not magic, not grammar formulas. Just tiny phrases that buy you time. Let me think. How do you say, "1 second"? These are your new best friends. They don't fix the blackout, but they hold the door open until your words show up. And third, we built your brain CPR kit. Rescue sentences, default replies, stuff that works even when your brain is doing absolutely nothing. You don't need to sound smart. You need to sound alive. You need to say something. Even if it depends. That buys you time, confidence, and most importantly, respect. Now let's hit your favorite excuse. But I want to wait until I feel ready. Yeah? Well, enjoy your long, beautiful wait. You'll still be waiting in 2045 while some other learner, who sounds worse than you, gets the job, makes the friend, and orders the sandwich. You don't need to feel ready. You need to speak anyway. So here's your tiny task. Send one real English message today. Short, casual, human. Just one. And then do it again tomorrow. Not to be perfect. Just to be present. That's how fluency starts. Not with books, but with brave little messages. If this episode helped you feel a little braver, a little louder, or a little more human, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with that one friend who still texts like they're applying for a visa. Or send it to yourself. Future you will thank past you for finally loosening up. And yes, we'll be back next Monday. Still tired, still sarcastic, still pushing you to speak, text, and live in English like it actually belongs to you. Because it does. You're not a bot. You're not a textbook. You're a real person with a real voice. So use it. Speak ugly. Speak now. And subscribe to Monday English Podcast before you forget where you heard this truth.